Last week, Biden, he attacked Christopher Columbus by refusing to recognize Columbus Day. And he wants to change the name of Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day. Who likes that idea? What the heck are you saying?
Well, you know where that stuff started. At Brown, they were the first ones to change the holiday, Indigenous Peoples Day. And across town, they have the Columbus Day Parade, draws thousands. And the politicians marching it, too. So now, listen, I don't know if they're looking for votes, but they marching it. Even some of them were against Columbus Day marching it because we caught them over there. Anyway, Trump over the weekend posted, I'm bringing Columbus Day back from the ashes. The Democrats did everything possible to destroy Christopher Columbus's reputation and all the Italians that love him so much. They tore down his statues, put up nothing but woke or even worse, nothing at all. Well, you'll be happy to know Christopher is going to make a major comeback. I am hereby reinstating Columbus Day under the same rules, dates, and locations as it has had for all of the many decades before. It's Trump's Italians are tough. He does say that. Who's happy about this news? Andre DiMino. He's with the Italian American One Voice Coalition. I've had him on many, many times.
You know, the Italians are tough. I love the Italians.
No, I know. You don't know. You had had Andre on many times before to talk about this and other issues. He's joining me again. Good morning, Andre. This is good news for you. In fact, you've already telegraphed your thanks to the president.
Absolutely. Are you kidding? I was thrilled when I saw this yesterday. Boy, what a clear, concise, and definitive statement from the president supporting Columbus Day. Couldn't be any better.
Now, he says he's reinstating. It's always been a federal holiday.
Yes.
That was never taken off the calendar, off the books, correct?
No, that's absolutely true. It's still a federal holiday, thank God. But, you know, we have 11 states and dozens of cities and school districts that have taken it away, either eliminated it or changed it to Indigenous Peoples Day. And we're glad that this came out, and hopefully it'll ebb the tide and bring this back to where it should be.
Well, the statues, they took the statues away. They took ours away from Providence, and they put it, but that's okay. It's got a safe home in Johnston, which is the number 2 most per capita Italian-American community in the country. Andre, listen, let's have a sophisticated conversation here before we're accused of, a couple of Italian guys celebrating. Let's not everything Columbus did was great, and some of the damage he wrought is true. However, you fill it in.
Yeah, what we have to realize that he was a man of his times. 500 years ago, more than 500 years ago, this wasn't exactly the Garden of Eden when he got to this part of the world. There was not only cannibalism, but there was all kinds of atrocities that were going on around the world. And he didn't invent slavery. There was slavery all over the world. But he was a man of his times. But many of the things that they said about Columbus have been totally debunked, even by an indigenous author like Rafael Ortiz, who wrote 4 books defending Columbus from primary sources from his research. So, yeah, obviously back in those times, a lot of things. Hey, for example, look at Chief Seattle. They got statues for Chief Seattle, and they got a city named after him, but he wiped out an entire tribe to become chief. So we can't hold the people of those times to today's things. But with respect to Columbus, those would have been totally blown out of proportion with these falsehoods that they brought out.
History. History is funny. Look, you go to Rome. Everybody wants to run to the Colosseum. It's where Christians were murdered. It's where they had people kill each other for spectacle. Yet they run there. There's grand statues of Marcus Aurelius. Killed a lot of people under his horse's hooves. We want to run to see Caesar's where they incinerated him and stabbed him. Caesar, right? But it's history. You can't pick and choose. And it doesn't mean we throw the whole thing out or we look through the telescope backward, Andre.
No, exactly. And that's, of course, what even they've said about our founding fathers. That nobody is perfect. There's always got things in the background. But what you got to look at overall, Columbus, he changed the world. He united the continents. After his voyages, the world came together where he brought Western culture to this part of the world. And that's what he should be remembered for. And more importantly, for Italian Americans, he's the iconic symbol that was part of the welcoming of immigrants to this part of the world. Unfortunately, there was the lynchings that occurred. There was discrimination, denigration of Italian Americans. And, we had the first Columbus Day that was celebrated to welcome Italian immigrants into this country. So he's important to Italian Americans and actually to all Americans and the world.
Yeah, I believe at the time the president, I forget who was it? I want to say McKinley. I may be wrong about that.
Yeah, it was President Harrison,
Harrison.
in 1892. Yeah, he declared the first Columbus Day as an apology for that lynching that occurred in 1891.
I remember how it came around. What do you think Donald Trump means when he says, I'm going to bring it back? I want it the way. Well, what do you think he says? Because it's never been taken off the calendar. What do you think he means?
No, I think maybe what he means, and you're right, it's not exact wording that he maybe should have used, but I think what he means is to bring back the overall respect for the holiday. Because, before Howard Zinn wrote his book, we didn't have any of this stuff. Howard Zinn was a self-declared anarchist and Marxist that wanted to destroy this country, and he wrote his book in 1980 with all these false facts about Columbus and our founding fathers. But before that, Columbus Day was a day that everybody honored, and that's what I think he means. Bring it back to that respect.
There's a woman from Stanford, a professor out there, who's kind of written a definitive debunk a lot of the Zinn stuff. I'll get the name of that book. Anyway, listen, I want to introduce you. Stay with us, Andre, to the mayor of Johnston, Rhode Island, which is the second.
Oh, great!
Per capita, the second highest Italo-American community. It's Mayor Joe Policina Jr. Now, his dad, who I had on, Mayor Policina Sr., was the one who said, "I'll take the statue from Providence. If they don't want it, we'll take it in Johnston." The son closed the deal. He's on the line to me now. Good morning, Mayor Policina Jr.
Good morning, Gene.
Listen, look, it was an act of political courage to take that, because not everybody was going to be happy you did that, and some of the politicians around here wouldn't show up for the dedication. You remember that?
Oh, I remember very well.
What do you make of this news that Trump wants to bring him back?
Listen, I think it's good as an Italian American. I have pride in Columbus Day. It's something that most Italians recognize as a day of pride and heritage. And like Andre said, I think it's very important in the historical context. You have to look at Christopher Columbus through a lens of someone that lived over half a millennia ago. You cannot judge him by today's times. And another thing that I kept hearing from people when we did this is that, he didn't discover anything. Leif Erikson came here in 1000 AD. Well, nothing happened from 1000 AD to the late 1400s. I mean, Christopher Columbus came here, and the Columbian Exchange ensued. And, it's so funny, things that people take for granted. And so the Irish potato famine, potatoes are indigenous to the Western Hemisphere. Those San Marzano tomatoes that everyone loves that are grown in Italy, tomatoes are indigenous to the Western Hemisphere. And then conversely, Columbus brought from the old world, he brought wheat, he brought horses to the Americas. Horses are not indigenous to the Americas. So like Andre said, it's really someone that kicked off this Columbian exchange that really shaped the two continents and their trade of goods.
Yeah, the president wrote yesterday, "I'm bringing Columbus Day back from the ashes. The Democrats did everything possible to destroy Christopher Columbus's reputation, and all of the Italians, I love him so much." Andre, I just want to tell you, Mayor Policina Jr. is a Democrat. So was his father, and so was Joe Paolino, who bought the statue from Providence when they didn't want it and gave it to Johnson. So I'm not quite sure that's accurate. The president knows the specifics of Democrats, what kind of Democrats we have here in Rhode Island. We have all kinds. But I just want to point that out, that 3 Democrats got together to save that statue, including the one we're talking to. Mayor Policina Jr., how's the statue doing?
It's doing very well. It's under 24-hour surveillance. Those closed-circuit cameras go right to the police station. I'm very lucky that everything to put the Columbus statue here was donated, including those cameras, and very appreciative of that. And, it was a nice event when we had it. And annually on Columbus Day, we do a food truck celebration in the park.
Right.
And, again, I say this all the time when I talk about things that I do. I represent the people of Johnston. The people of Johnston are my main concern. And I think the overwhelming majority of people support the decision, and that's why I did it.
All right. Thanks, Mayor Joe Policina Jr. I'll let you go to work. In the meantime, Andre, listen, I would support, as Trump would say, a big, beautiful summit. Everybody gets together around the table and hashes this out once and for all. I'm for that. I want him to, listen, I'm not going to I don't want to deny history, but I want the whole story told. And as I said, you go to Rome, everybody rushes to the Colosseum. A lot of bad things happen there, but it's history along with the statues of Caesar and Marcus Aurelius. So I'll give you the last word, Andre.
Well, just along that line, we made an alliance with the Native American Guardians Association, which they're trying to reverse cancel culture, getting rid of names like the Redskins and so forth. And they support us, and we support them. They support us in Columbus Day. So that is important. Let's strive for unity and not division. Let's get around that big table that you're talking about, and let's all join together and respect each other. We respect indigenous people on their own day, and they respect Columbus Day, as the Native American Guardians Association has said. So let's strive towards that unity, and let's also thank President Trump for this definitive statement.
What came of those cases that you were following? There were some cities that were being sued. You and others were party to suits that said this is almost discrimination, that you can't take this statute.
Yes. Well, Italian Americans are a recognized group under the 14th Amendment, and the Italian American One Voice Coalition sued the city of West Orange, New Jersey, for removing the statue during the George Floyd situation. And our suit is still pending. We'll go all the way to the Supreme Court if we have to, because you can't replace one group with another, and that's what they did with these Columbus statues.
Andre, if people want to know more about your organization, where should they go?
The best place is our website, which is our initials, IAOVC.org, which is Italian American One Voice Coalition.org, IAOVC.org.
Andre, thanks. Talk to you soon.
Great, Gene. Thanks.